Welcome to my YouTube channel Wise Whispers, where silence speaks. My name is Liam, and I am 67 years old. I never imagined that after spending my whole life building a home for my family, I would one day be threatened with the police inside that very house. But that is exactly what happened. It was a cold Tuesday evening when everything changed. I was sitting quietly in the living room, holding a cup of tea and looking at the old family photos on the wall. Pictures of birthdays, Christmas mornings, and the day my son Daniel took his first steps. Those memories were the reason I worked hard my entire life. That house wasn't just a building, it was my life story. Daniel and his wife, Sophie, had moved in with me a year earlier. At first, I thought it would be nice. After my wife passed away 5 years ago, the house had become painfully quiet. I believed having family around would bring warmth back into my life. For the first few weeks, everything seemed fine. But slowly, things started to change. Sophie began treating the house like it belonged only to her. She rearranged the furniture without asking, threw away things that belonged to my late wife, and even told guests that it was their home. I tried to stay quiet. I didn't want to create problems for my son. One evening, I politely asked Sophie not to throw away my wife's old cookbook. It was one of the few things I had left from her. Sophie rolled her eyes. "It's just junk," she said coldly. My chest tightened, but I stayed calm. "It means a lot to me," I replied softly. She didn't answer. From that day on, her attitude became worse. She complained that I used too much electricity. She told Daniel that I was old-fashioned and difficult to live with. Sometimes she even ignored me completely, as if I didn't exist. Daniel changed too. My cheerful boy who used to sit and talk with me for hours, now barely looked at me. Then came the night that broke everything. I had come home from grocery shopping and noticed the locks on the front door had been changed. Confused, I rang the doorbell. Sophie opened the door halfway and looked annoyed. "Why are the locks changed?" I asked. She crossed her arms. "Because this is our house now." I felt my stomach drop. "This house is in my name," I said calmly. "I bought it 30 years ago." Her face turned red with anger. "Leave or I'll call the police," she screamed loudly. The words echoed through the hallway like a slap across my face. Daniel appeared behind her, but he didn't say a word. He just stood there, silent. That silence hurt more than anything. I looked at my son, hoping he would defend me. But he avoided my eyes. Something inside me broke that moment. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I simply nodded, walked away from the door, and went to spend the night at a small motel. That night, I barely slept. I kept asking myself the same question. How did my own family treat me like a stranger in my own home? By morning, I had made a decision. If they wanted the house so badly, they could watch it leave. The next day, I called a real estate agent. "I want to put my house on the market," I told her. Within 2 weeks, we had multiple offers. The house was in a great neighborhood and worth much more than I expected. During that time, Daniel finally called me. "Dad, Sophie says strangers keep coming to the house. What's going on?" he asked. "I put the house up for sale," I replied calmly. There was silence on the phone. "You can't do that," he said nervously. "It's my house, Daniel." "But where are we supposed to go?" he asked. The irony of that question almost made me laugh. A week later, the house was sold. I showed up with the new owners on the final day. Sophie opened the door, furious. "You sold the house," she shouted. "Yes," I said quietly. The new owners stepped inside and began discussing renovations. Sophie's face turned pale. "You can't kick us out," she yelled. But legally, they had 30 days to leave. Daniel pulled me aside. "Dad, why would you do this?" he asked, his voice shaking. I looked at him with tired eyes. "Because the moment your wife told me she'd call the police on me in my own house, I realized I no longer had a home there." He didn't respond. For the first time in my life, my son looked ashamed. 30 days later, they moved out. I never returned to live there. Instead, I bought a small cottage near a lake a few hours away. It wasn't big, but it was peaceful. I spent my mornings fishing and my evenings reading on the porch. For the first time in years, my heart felt light again. 6 months later, Daniel came to visit. He stood awkwardly at my door. "Dad, I'm sorry," he said quietly. I could see regret in his eyes. "Sophie and I separated," he continued. "I should have stood up for you." I sighed and invited him inside. We sat by the lake for hours, talking like we used to when he was a child. Some wounds take time to heal. But sometimes distance helps people see the truth. Now, at 67 years old, I have learned one important lesson. A house may hold memories, but respect is what truly makes it a home. And without respect, even family can become strangers. Moral of the story: never allow anyone, family or not, to take away your dignity. Love should come with respect, and a home without respect is no home at all.